Welcome, everyone. Today's topic is a year into the pandemic, know the trends and opportunities for you. So we're going to talk about exactly what the impact of the pandemic has been on the economy and obviously in real estate, and what opportunities this brings to you. What is it that you need to focus on moving forward so that you can leverage from this great opportunity? Let's dive into it. Okay, so we're going to start with what's been happening in the economy, focusing on real estate. Okay, so home prices, sharing my screen, making sure that everyone sees these. Back in 2020, prices were already on the rise, but due to the shortage of inventory, supply and demand, that has made property prices just gone through the roof. There's been an increase in property prices of about 20% in the last year. It's been insane. People overpaying for properties. Appraisals are coming high. And we've had 4 refinances in the last 2-3 weeks, and we've seen property prices going through the roof. Okay, in fact, we have a property that we put in the market for $260,000. Last year, it appraised for $230,000. We got it on the contract for $300,000, so $30,000 above asking price. Although the appraisal came at $290,000, $30,000 above asking price. So things are insane right now when it comes to supply. Since we have such a shortage of inventory, prices have gone through the roof. So now, what happened to personal savings? Okay, when the pandemic hit, savings went through the roof. So as you can see, people tend to save. Look at this chart. About 7-8% of their disposable income goes towards saving. But when the pandemic hit in March last year, look at the rate, how it went through the roof. So savings went up to 33% of their disposable income. Now, what happened is that things are reopening. People are going back to work. They're getting other jobs. Employers are making the remote option available. So then they're starting to spend more money. And then obviously savings went down, but still they're pretty high. People are afraid, they're scared, so they're spending less money. Still, savings rate are very, very high. Next, I want to show you consumer spending by income. Okay, so we have the low income and the high income. So the low income earners are in red and the high income earners are in blue. So as you can see here, let's look at the dive, right? So this is in direct correlation to savings. Spending, right? It's the opposite. So when it hit in March 2020, spending just went negative. People were not spending because they were afraid. Many obviously lost their job, and the trend has been upward ever since. For the last year, consumer spending has gone up, and as you can see, in the second trimester of this year, spending took a really high increase of about 20%. So this is what's fueling the economy, right? By businesses opening up, restaurants being 100% capacity open has helped boost the consumer spending, which is what we need to improve the economy. But this doesn't mean that property prices are still extremely high, right? So they're not coming down anytime soon due to the shortage. We're going to talk about how this is going to impact real estate prices and inventory in the next 6 to 12 months. Supply, right? So this is something that we're all struggling with, right? Finding available inventory that makes any sense. So active listings. As of March 2020, it just took a deep dive, right? It just went down by over 50%. Inventory has decreased by about 55% from a year ago. Okay, it's just a huge dive. Okay, and the properties that were sold, look at this, the median new home sold, once the pandemic hit, it just went through the roof. So the small number of properties that were available sold like extremely fast, right? Because again, supply and demand. Now let's understand what's happening to interest rates. So interest rates have been going down since 2020. That is why refinances went through the roof. Also, these allow buyers to enter the pool of especially new buyers, first-time buyers enter the pool in real estate, and that has put a lot of pressure into the existing inventory, and obviously for investors trying to find a great deal. This is the reason why interest rates being so low, because this makes affordability greater for home buyers. Okay, now as you can see, interest rates have increased. Like in early September or January, you were going to be able to get a 3% interest rate on a residential loan. Now you won't be on anywhere near the 3% interest rate. Interest rate right now on residential is at about 4.25. Okay, commercial is about 5.5. Okay, so interest rates are on the rise. Let's continue to the next stat. Okay, so rising rates. Here, serious delinquencies. This is a very important indicator of what's going to happen with the already pre-foreclosures that are pending, right? Once the courts open up, there's going to be a huge tsunami of real estate recycling back into the market, but we're not going to be able to see it until next spring, next summer at the earliest. But this is super important for you to understand. So these are the delinquencies based on the light blue is 30 days delinquent. Okay, so let's look at when the pandemic hit. Back in March 2020, look at this. Many people losing their job were not able to pay mortgage. Okay, so they were delinquent about 30 days or so. But look at the black line. So this is 90 days delinquencies. So these are people who truly have lost the source of income, right? They lost their job. They were not able to work remotely. Therefore, they were delinquent over 90 days. So these are the people that, guess what? These are the pending pre-foreclosures. So look at the numbers. From 500,000 have gone all the way up to 2 million delinquencies over 90 days. You see what this means. This is an increase of about 300%. It's huge, right? So if we go back to the blue line, people that were delinquent just 30 days, they were able to get caught up, okay? Somehow they managed to get back on their feet. Maybe these are the people that were able to work remotely, white collar employees, but the blue collar, right, really took a hit. So I'm referencing C, D neighborhoods that were hit the hardest. So this is where people, blue collar employees, totally lost their job, okay? So obviously they cannot not afford to pay the mortgage. These are the people, these are the markets most affected. So this is the huge tsunami wave. This is one of the most important charts. This is the huge tsunami wave of pending pre-foreclosures that are going to hit the market in 2022. Sometime in the summer, late summer, beginning fall, is when you're going to see these properties starting to recycle back into the market. What does that mean to the supply and demand? Obviously, demand is still high, But when you have a surplus or an increase in inventory, then property prices are going to correct themselves. They're going to adjust. They're going to go down, but not by a lot. It's not going to be a crash. So property prices will come down between 10 to 20%. So anything that right now is appraising for, let's say, 200,000 may appraise for about 180, 170 in about a year's time. When we have an increase of inventory that is going to be fueled by all these delinquencies over 90 days. Because guess what? If these people are not able to come current, they will for sure lose their property to the foreclosure process. Then at that point, either an investor is going to buy these properties at the judicial auction, or the bank is going to take over the properties. They're going to become bank-owned properties or REOs, and eventually they will hit the market by next summer, next fall, and we're going to have so many opportunities. So what is it that you need to do to focus on today? How can you be ready for this tsunami wave that is going to hit the market next year? Cash is going to be king. You've got to have reserves. Whether you're getting a Harmony or private money lender to fund your transactions, you're going to need to have reserves, okay? Even if you get a private money loan, right, where you can finance 100% of the purchase, 100% of the rehab, guess what? When it comes to the refinance, using a commercial lender, they're going to ask you for reserves, 3 to 6 months of principal, interest, tax, and insurance. Okay, so you're going to need to have at least $10,000 to $15,000 in reserves, assuming you're buying a property for less than $200,000. So reserves are going to be critical. Second thing that you need to focus on, FICO score. Make sure that your FICO score is 680 and above, because we want to make sure that when you get funding for the upfront purchase, that the loan does not get stuck. Let's assume that you're going to do a buy and hold, right? So you buy the property using asset-based lending, such as a Harmony lender or a private money lender. You fix it up, you rent it. Now it's time to refinance, right? We need to pay off that expensive loan by refinancing, putting that rehab loan into a rental long-term lower rate loan. For that to happen, you're going to need to have reserves, and you're going to need to have 680 FICO score or above, okay? If you don't have the reserves or you don't have the FICO score, that's a problem, okay? So make sure that you have the reserves, you take care of your FICO, and obviously sharpen your saw. You've got to have the knowledge, you've got to have the experience, and you have to have the right resources, meaning the right team working for you. What I mean by that, primarily GCs, contractors, plumbers, electricians. You've got to spend the time to network with them, because right now they're in high demand, and even the bad ones are pretty busy. So you need to make sure that you build great relationship with good quality contractors, because guess what? They're gonna either make you or break you. You wanna make sure that your rehabs are done on a timely manner and they stay within budget. Very critical, because that's gonna affect the success of your buy and hold or your flip. So that's your number one task. Again, build reserves, FICO over 680, have a GC that is very reliable, good quality, stays within budget in your team. Super critical. That's going to be one of your main resources, one of your main teammates that is going to make you or break you in about a year's time. Okay, especially if you're doing business today, you've got to make sure that you have the right people in your team. So this is my favorite graph, because this explains what the tsunami wave is going to look like in about a year's time. We're looking at 1.5 million properties that are delinquent over 90 days. And guess what? It's going to be very, very difficult for these people to come current. Why? Because the forbearance program is over. They had about a year's time, right, for them to skip a mortgage payment, but the mortgage payment was not forgiven, right? It was just a deferment of payment for about a year. So the forbearance program ended last March 2021. So they had a year's time to sort of recoup. But if those people still were not able to get a job, still were not able to come current, the forbearance program ended, and now they're going to be candidates for pre-foreclosure, foreclosure, okay? And they will lose their property if they're not able to come current with the outstanding loan balance, okay? So super, super important. This graph is forecasting a huge opportunity for all of you investors, but you've got to be ready, okay? Next, unemployment. As you can see, March 2021, boom. In fact, this graph is very conservative because we hit unemployment rate at the very highest percentage in the history of the US. It hit 20 to 25 unemployment rate back in March, April 2020, okay? So now unemployment rate is way lower, but it's still higher than before. So unemployment used to be somewhere in the 4-5%. Right now it's a little bit higher. It's a little bit over 6%, but nothing compared to last year. But still, many people are unemployed. And again, also the unemployment benefits, 600 extra per month, it's over, okay? So all the stimulus packages for unemployment, forbearance have finished. So that is something that is not helping, right? People already in financial distress, in delinquency with their mortgage payments. Let's continue looking at these markets are going to boom next year, okay? Some of them, these are nationwide, Vegas, New Orleans, Memphis, Philadelphia, Nashville. So here's the list, okay? So Chicago comes way towards the bottom, okay? So as you can see, Florida shows up in many of the top booming markets, okay? Like Miami is number 4, then you have Jacksonville, number 7. So you're gonna see Florida and Oklahoma among the top states that are gonna be booming. Then you have Tampa, number 15, Arizona, Texas. So Chicago is way down the list, okay? So right here, 29th, it's still way down the list. So that is why many people are looking into Florida, because it's a booming market right now. Why? Because real estate properties are low, there's no state tax, so many retirees are moving there, and now many families are moving into Florida because property prices are also more reasonable compared to Chicago, although they are on the rise due to the supply and demand, okay? Now, something that you also need to be aware of that this just came out yesterday is that the governor, Pritzker, extended the eviction moratorium till June 26th, okay? This just came out about a few days ago, so it's been extended again one more time to June 26th. Now, what's the insider's information and speculation from the big real estate key players and people that are going to be buying big time at the judicial auctions once they fully open up through the court system? This is the date, September. September, it could be mid-September, end of September, but September is the date. So my suspicion is that the eviction moratorium is still going to be extended July, August, but September comes, look out, okay? So things are going to start happening in September. Courts, that's the forecast, that courts are gonna reopen 100% until September. So once the summer is over, boom, everything goes back to normal when it comes to the court system. In fact, many big corporations are reopening their office space in September. So September is going to be a key month, okay? The summer, nothing is going to happen, okay? Eviction moratoriums are still going to be extended. September comes, be in the lookout, okay? Because that's when things are going to start happening through the court system. But as I show you, 1.5 million, right? Pending pre-foreclosures. So it's going to take some time for things to go through the court system and then start to recycle back into the market for us to see the new increase in inventory. So that's not going to happen until sometime next summer, early fall. So we have time. You have time to sharpen your saw, increase your reserves, increase your FICO score, and have the right team in place, primarily contractors, okay? Are there any questions so far from what we covered? Anybody, any input, any questions so far? Okay, there's a question. Do we know any forbearance statistics? Yes, Asma. So forbearance, what forbearance means is that the government allowed distressed homeowners to skip mortgage payments between March of 2020 for 6 months, and you could renew that one more time. So technically, homeowners had about a year's time to be in forbearance, meaning they were allowed to skip the mortgage payment, but it was not a forgiveness of the mortgage payments. It's just a deferment. So now people were not able to come current and pay a lump sum for the forgiveness, for the deferred mortgage payments, are going to enter the pre-foreclosure process, okay? So that's something that is going to just add on to the pressure of 90 days over delinquency. So that's just adding on to the tsunami wave that is coming down the pipe next year. Another question is, Craig, do we have a contractors list? Yes, we do. So right here in ChicagoDealVault, on the preferred partners, we've added quite a few contractors. Okay, so we have GCs, we have under preferred partners. So we have home inspectors. Let me see. So GCs, we've added a few more. Okay, GCs, we've added plumbers and electricians. Those are the main categories that we added, probably 3 to 5 new contractors. So please make sure that you reach out to them, make sure that you build rapport. Most importantly, review their work, give them a small project, and then start building on from there, okay? So when you start working with somebody new, don't give them a big project, just try them out with something small, and based on their performance, then you start adding on and give them more responsibilities. Okay, how do you vet those GCs? Okay, to vet GCs, what you need to do is you want to see their work, okay? Previous rehabs that they've done, you want to see those. You want to see the quality, you want to see price, and how long it took them. Super important, because you might get good price, good quality, but it may take them like a long time. So that's going to increase your carrying cost. So 3 things that you need to keep in mind when vetting them: quality, price, time frame. 3 things that you need to check. So just have them show you previous rehabs. So you want to know how long it took them, how much it costed, and you want to see quality. So close-up pictures of everything they've done, okay? And then make sure that you're working with licensed GCs, licensed plumbers, licensed electricians, because if you're doing rehabs for those systems, you're gonna need to pull permits from the village, okay? Super important. Handymen are meant for upkeep, maintenance small projects. They're not meant for rehab. So please never hire maintenance or people or handyman for rehabs where you need to pull permits. It's going to be a big disaster. Okay. Another question is, what I meant is, how do they make it on your list? Oh, okay. Because we've used them, some of our members have used them and they were highly recommended. So that's how they made it into the list. Okay. Some people, you know, they're asking us to put them on the list, but unless we've vetted them, unless we've used them in the past, we cannot put them in the list. Great question. And then how do you qualify to be in the list on DealVault? So we have to have some sort of references. We have to use them in the past. We need to feel comfortable with them. We want to make sure that they've done good quality work on time and reasonably when it comes to price. So that's what we look for, 3 things when working with contractors. Great questions. Are there any other questions? So again, let's quickly recap what you need to focus on and what's happening. So right now, the over 90-day delinquencies are over 1.5 million. Those are the candidates that unfortunately are going to hit the pre-foreclosure once the court opens up based on the stats in September, okay? But you won't see anything, you won't notice anything until next summer, beginning of the fall. That's when there's gonna be a price correction. So be aware if you're gonna be buying properties, because there's gonna be a declining ARVs, okay, next year that are gonna hit the market towards the end of the summer, okay? So in between now and then, you can still find great deals, but just stick to your numbers, right? Important. Make sure that you have great people working in your team, build reserves, and have the best FICO score that you can possibly have, because that's gonna drive the success of your refinances and the terms of your loans. Okay, the higher, over 720, you're gonna get the best terms, the lowest interest rates. But again, you may have everything, but if you don't have the reserves, that's gonna be a roadblock in your refinance. You need to have at least 3 to 6 months of reserves, meaning principal and interest for the subject property. Now, another question, would you suggest holding off on sending letters to pre-foreclosures until next year? No, that's a great question, Rebecca. So in fact, it should be the opposite. So right now you need to consistently continue to do mailers to people in pre-foreclosure, because guess what? There's gonna be a huge pressure on them once the courts open up in September, because guess what? Then it's official, they're gonna be in pre-foreclosure. And there still may be many of them in denial, right? They believe they're gonna be able to come out of the pre-foreclosure process okay, but over 90% of the times, they're not, unfortunately. They won't be able to come current with the loan because of all the backed up or missed payments. So they're gonna come to the realization that they're gonna need to take action one way or another, because else they will for sure lose all the equity in their house, they're gonna lose their home, and they're gonna ruin their credit. So by you making them aware that you can purchase the property, it's gonna be a huge gain, especially if you start early on. But the key is to be consistent, to do mailers once a month for the next 6 to 9 months. That's going to make you stand out from the competition. Biggest mistakes of investors when doing mailers is that they do 1 or 2 and they stop. So I've gotten so many letters in some of our properties, but I've only seen 1, so I tend to toss it. But hardly anybody continues to do the same mailer consistently for the next 6 to 7 months. You're gonna stand out from the competition. That's what's gonna make you successful. And in fact, probates is one of the most important lead pipe. To be successful in probates, you've got to do mailers for at least 6 to 7 months, okay? That's one of the most profitable lead pipes, but it takes consistency. That's where most investors fail. And that is why, guess what? You don't have much competition because most investors quit early on. After 2, 3 months, they don't get any leads, they don't get any responses, they quit. That is why it's going to be a great opportunity for all of you, okay, to do this consistently. Mailers for pre-foreclosures, for probates, consistency. And guess what? You don't even need to change the format of the template of the letter. You could be sending the same postcard or the same letter, okay? That's going to be super important. What matters is consistency. You don't need to break your head on sending different letter types or different formats. It could be just exactly the same letter. You want to build awareness, right? That you are out there for them, to give them a solution to their biggest headache. They're about to lose their biggest life investment in the next year should they not take action, okay? So you want to be there when they're ready to pull the trigger, okay? Aside from improving FICO score and maintaining good relationships with Harmony lenders, what else can can I do to improve and become a strong candidate for purchase? Okay, Bassem, what you need to do is, and you can apply this today, you need to know your numbers, okay? Always stick to your numbers, regardless of the up and downs of the economy. You've got to know your numbers, meaning you need to know the ARV, after repair value of the property. You need to have a good idea of what the rehab amount is going to be, and then you're gonna need to know the most you should pay for the property, okay? Those are your numbers that you need to know like the back of the hand. And on top of that, even before you analyze the property, you need to understand the markets, okay? You need to know, are you gonna do flips and rentals for your exit strategy? If so, what are the top flipping and top rental markets that you need to focus on? That should be critical for you, okay? And many investors start with the wrong foot because they focus in the wrong markets for their exit strategy. So they wanna do flips, and they happen to focus on a rental market where properties sit on the market for 5, 6 months. So guess what? They're not going to be successful doing flips. You've got to focus on the right market that supports your exit strategy. If you're going to stick to rentals, focus on top rental markets. Those are the ones that are affordable, less than 200,000. You can get a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Yet rents are over 1,500 and up. Those are top rental markets, okay? Flipping markets, very simple. Properties sell extremely fast, so they don't last. When they hit the market, boom, they sell in less than 2.5 months. Those are top flipping markets. So Bassem, you've got to understand your markets that support your exit strategies. And number two, you've got to know your numbers, okay? Even in this competitive market, people are still getting properties on the contract that are in MLS. Why? Because they stick to their numbers and they make themselves stand out. To stand out today and be able to get properties on the contract in this competitive market, it takes two things. You're gonna need to add credibility to your offer, meaning that you're gonna need to attach some sort of proof of funds that you're gonna be able to close in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Sellers wanna sell fast, so you've gotta be able to do that, and earnest money. So you need to come in with a 5 to 10,000 earnest money, right? So that you stand out from the competition. But most importantly, before you formalize the offer and put it in writing, you've got to negotiate the deal verbally, okay? You don't want to waste time going back and forth with the seller with updates on the contract, because guess what? Somebody's going to come the back door, negotiate verbally, and you're going to be out of the picture. You've got to negotiate the deal verbally. You've got to build rapport with the listing agent or the seller, okay, to understand exactly the terms they're looking for to close on the property. Some of them, they might really need to sell the property in the next couple of weeks. Some of them are flexible, but they're looking for other terms, like a high earnest money or a certain price amount that you can obviously negotiate, but always stick to your numbers. Even if the owner wants the sky and everything in between, it doesn't matter. Stick to your numbers. If you need to let the deal go by, it's fine, but you've got to make sure that you don't overpay for the property, because then you can lose a lot of money. You may not end up with the equity on the back end that you need to refinance. Therefore, you can be stuck and you can lose a lot of money. So stick to your numbers, regardless of the up and down cycles of the economy, okay? And please, never rely on appreciation. You always need to focus on cash flow and equity when you buy a property. You always need to end up with at least 25% equity on the deal. Example, you buy the property for 100,000, you put in 50,000 for the rehab, so all in 150,000. That property better appraise for 200,000. So you have 25% equity on the back end. So when you want to refinance, the lender is going to give you only 75% of the total ARV, meaning 75% of 200,000 is going to be 150,000, right? So you always need to end up with 25% equity regardless. So make sure that you stick to your numbers, understand the market where you're investing, and that's what it takes to be successful in real estate, regardless of the cycles. Would you stop sending letters to a person after 6 to 9 months? Great question. I would say you need to do it for at least 6 to 8 months, at least, Rebecca. And then I would go, so to answer the question, it's going to be driven based on where they are on their either foreclosure process or probate. So a probate typically lasts for about a year's time. That's it. So from the time they open up the probate, they're giving you the sign that they're ready to move forward. They want to sell the property, most oftentimes because their motivation is to cash out. Those properties are free and clear. They have a lot of equity. They want to pay the creditors or the mortgagors and then cash out. So for probates, you want to go at least 7 to 8 months, but no more than 12 months, okay, for a probate. Because by then, the property might have been sold. So you need to understand from the day they open up the probate, you need to add, I would say, 8 to 9 months. And then at that point, then you can determine whether to stop the mailers. However, pre-foreclosures can take up to 2 years, okay? So this is the key. From the time they enter the foreclosure process, okay, they're gonna be, most of them, in denial for the first, I would say, 3 to 6 months. But guess what? After 9 months that they've been in pre-foreclosure process, typically the judge is going to issue the auction date. So at that point, they're going to be extremely motivated. Un segundo, Gigi, por favor. They're going to be extremely motivated to take action because the judge has given them a date when the property is going to be auctioned off. They're going to lose the property. So guess what? In pre-foreclosures, what you need to do is, from the time they enter the foreclosure process, add about 6 months. And at that point is a sweet spot to start doing the mailers. From there, add another probably 6 to 9 months, and that's going to maximize your return and minimize your risk. So that's when it comes to the foreclosure process. So it's 2 different answers depending on whether you're doing mailers for probates or pre-foreclosures. 1 second. Okay. Los colores. ¿Esto? ¿Ah? ¿Cuál? ¿Esto? ¿Cuál? Ah, ¿esto? Ok, perfecto. Cuidado, no te vayas a ensuciar. Okay, guys, I'm back. Got to give out some coloring and papers to the little one. So yeah, Rebecca, just do what I said on the mailers for the timing, because it's critical, right? At what stage in the foreclosure process the owner is in, and the same applies for the probates. There's another question. I have seen houses in DealVault that say they were sold back to the bank, but when I look at the real estate tax record from the county, it says that the foreclosed person is still on the taxes, even years later. Okay, so great question. Right now, when the recordings are taking a long time due to the pandemic, so even if the properties are sold, they're taking a long time, could be even months before the owner, the owner of the deed or the property shows in the public records from the tax assessor. So again, just try to get in touch directly with the owner and find out exactly if they have sold the property or not. But yeah, take a look at the tax records. Those are the ones that get updated first, okay, from the tax assessor website. So that's going to be the first point that gets updated when it comes to recording deeds with the latest owner. Are there any other questions on the line? How often are the records on? Yeah,
Ugo,
we update them daily.
Hi, Ugo.
Yes.
This
Go
is
ahead,
Tim.
Tim.
How are you?
Hi, Tim. Very good, thanks. And you?
I'm good. Listen, I have a question. So,
Yes.
I spoke to an owner of a two flat property that he wants to sell. Now, I just want you to tell me what you think. I already know what I'm going to do, but I want you to tell me what you think.
Okay.
So, he has a two flat for sale and he has tenants on the inside. So he stated to me that the tenants don't want anyone coming through their units to look at the property, but they know that the property is for sale. So the owner of the property told me just to drive by, and he said you can give me an offer then. And I was like, well, how can I give you a offer when I can't see on the inside of the property? Can I at least see the basement? And he was like, well, no, they don't want anybody in there. So what do you think of that situation? Have you heard of anybody accepting offers on a drive-by?
No, it's not a good idea. Not a good
Yeah.
idea. No, because so let me tell you, and we had a similar problem, okay, on two properties that we put for sale.
Mm-hmm.
We notified the tenant, and then guess what? They just, even though they were willing to show the property, they just could not find another place to move. So we had to postpone closing. They owed us some money. We just call it even, just for them to
Mm-hmm.
move out, because then the new buyer cannot take possession of the premises. So if the tenants are not cooperating on the showings, it's a red flag, okay? Because guess what? They
Mm-hmm.
might not be paying rent at all. They might not be willing to move out. Why? Because they're being protected by the eviction moratorium. So they're not going nowhere. They might be rent free for now. And so you cannot buy those properties because guess what? Guess what? You may not know when you're going to take possession of the property, and they could vandalize the property, and you won't be able to do anything anytime before September. That's my thinking, right? With those people in the property. So you could be buying a big problem. Does that make sense? And not only that, but Harmony lenders, they're going to require an appraisal.
Right.
They're going to require an appraisal. So if they cannot get into the property, the buyer is not getting the money. A private money
Right.
lender is not going to require an appraisal, but again, it's a huge risk. You might get the money to buy the property, but your $20,000-$30,000 rehab could go through the roof because you don't know the condition they're going to leave the property, nor when you're going to get possession of the premises. So the risk is huge. In fact, let me give you an example. We had the opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
buy a property with about $100,000 spread that needed very little rehab. But since we were not able to get a cash for keys agreement with the occupant, we let it go because it was too risky. Despite of the equity of the property, we never know when we're going to take possession of the property, nor will we know the condition of the property once they move out, if they ever move out. So it's just not worth the headache, right? And then how are we going to fund the property? If we get the money from a private money lender, then our reputation is on the line because we may not be able to pay them back. We don't know when, right? So the risk offsets the benefit.
Okay, I got you.
That's my thinking.
Okay, and then I have a second question for you. So, what is the biggest challenge in the real estate industry today?
Number one
With
is finding the right inventory, okay? Because right now things are overpriced. That's the biggest challenge. The second biggest challenge is to find the right contractors to do the job. If you're going to do a rehab, whether for a rental or for a flip, that's the biggest second issue today. The third biggest issue would be, I would say, funding for some people. Okay, but again, right now there's more money to be lent than deals to be found. Okay,
Mhm.
so that's what's happening right now. And what's really good in real estate right now is obviously doing flips, selling properties, and renting properties, especially in the suburbs, because you
Mhm.
can get way over asking price. You can, even for rents, you're going to be able to rent the property so fast. I mean, we've rented our properties. Maybe we did 3, 4 units. We rented them within few days, and
Mhm.
asking price, and some of them went above asking price. So the rental market is super strong, especially in the suburbs. In the city like Chicago, it's not as strong. Okay, we were very lucky to rent a property like in 2 days in the city, but we didn't have that many showings compared to the suburbs. The suburbs is like insane because people are migrating from the city towards the suburbs.
Mhm.
So great questions, Tim.
Okay, and then one more question. So I spoke to a realtor last night because I put an offer in on a property. So the realtor called me back because I just sent the email saying that I was interested in a property and that I wanted to see it. And I've seen the outside of this building. So it's a condo, and it was a bank foreclosure, so they had pictures of the property online. So anyway, when I was speaking to the realtor and I put the offer in, she's like, "Oh no, that's too low." She said properties now are going 50, 60, maybe even 70,000 over asking price. Do you want to raise your offer? And I said no. So why? I mean, is there going to be at any point where that's going to turn around fast?
Absolutely, that's going to happen, but not until next summer, next fall, okay, where there's going to be a price correction.
Mhm.
But you need to know your numbers. You need to know what properties are selling in the market today, and you
Right.
need to go off of that. You don't need to go off of the what people are offering, right? 20, 50,
Hmm.
50, 60,000 above asking price may not make any sense, right? But if the bank or the listing is listed for very, very low or very, very great price, then you need to know your numbers because that's also a strategy to get multiple offer situation. To list it very competitive, they know they're going to get obviously above asking price, but you need to understand what the comps are being sold for um, in that neighborhood. So you need to stick to the numbers. That's super critical. Okay, it doesn't mean that because other people are paying crazy money, so will you. That doesn't make any sense because you can lose money. Okay, so stick to your numbers.
Okay.
And this is what's going to happen. Even if people pay or offer crazy money, what's going to kill the deal is the appraisal. Appraisers may not appraise a property for what people are willing to pay. So what that means is that buyers are going to need to come to closing with out-of-pocket money if they still want to buy the property. So let me give you the example. The property that we listed for 260, we got under contract for 300,000, so 40,000 above asking. But it appraised for 290. So we came back to the seller, to the buyer, and said we can split the difference. But the buyer said, no, I'm not willing to pay anything over the appraised value of 290. We said fine. So 290, still 30,000 above asking price. So yeah, things have. Let me give you an example. We appraised a property in Streamwood last, I would say last October, November. It appraised for like 190, 195. Today, it appraised for 253. I just couldn't believe it. It went up by 50, 60,000 in a matter of like 6 months. The market is just crazy. And the problem is that when properties are closing for that much, they become real comps. So prices are being pushed up big time. So right now is the time to do micro flipping. So buy a property that requires little work and then boom, put it right on the market.
Okay.
Great questions.
Thank you. So micro flipping, that's what I should look at.
That's the key, exactly. And then stay away from go rehabs. It's too risky, too risky, especially because contractors are the biggest nightmare. So unless you have a really good crew, it's just a big no-no. It's easier to do a wholesale than to do a wholesale a property that requires a lot of work. Is going to be easier than taking on the rehab challenge. Okay. So wholesale is just a greater strategy to do right now because of the shortage of inventory. If you have a property on the contract, good price, it's going to be super easy to wholesale the property. We've wholesale properties in just a matter of hours. And we've been getting above asking price. So wholesaling, micro flipping is just the way to go.
Okay, so when you mentioned wholesale micro flipping, let me ask this question here. Can you flip a HUD home?
No, they have requirements. You have to live in the property. You won't be able to sell it for, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, at least 12 months. So you won't be able to sell it for the next 12 months. So there are some restrictions on HUD properties for sure, because they're meant for primary residents. They're not meant for investors.
Okay.
That's the trick. So the government is preventing investors from cannibalizing and taking properties that should be primarily for primary residents or new buyers, new homeowners.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem, Tim. Good questions. Anybody else? Any other questions? Oh, Rebecca, she has us listed in DealVault that have been listed. Okay, so we have archiving properties. So archive, those are like archive properties for history purposes. So we want to keep track of everything about the property in the last 5 to 10 years. So when we do a search on a property, we want to understand the history. So that is why we keep properties, even if they're being sold, for archiving history purposes, Rebecca. Good question, but we update DealVault on a daily basis. Anybody else? Any other questions?
I'll have another question.
Yes, Tim.
So when is the next indoor training or event?
We're gonna try to do it once a month. So we just did one last Sunday, but we
Right.
didn't realize when we scheduled it that it was Memorial Day weekend. So next time we're gonna make it on a weekend that is not a holiday. We had a great attendance, over 70 people, but we're gonna make the next live training in about a month. So beginning of June and beginning of July or end of June.
Okay. Now, the beginning of July, it comes the 4th of July holiday weekend now.
Exactly. We need to be careful with that. So we'll just need to do it somewhere before or after the holidays.
Okay. Now let me ask you this. So do you have any like field trips planned? Like if someone has a home for sale that we go through and take a look so we can see, that type of that situation, looking
Yeah,
at the
absolutely.
properties.
Absolutely. So in fact, right now we have, we just completed a rehab in Chicago about a week ago, no, week and a half ago. We have one rehab in Wheaton. It's a three flat. We will start another rehab very soon in about 2, 3 days. So I can take you guys to some of these rehabs so that you get some hands-on experience, understanding the rehab process and expenses for sure that come along with the rehab. So that's a great point. So I'll take you guys to these properties. Thank you,
Okay.
Elena, for the
Thank you.
comment. Thank you. So Rebecca is asking whether they need to weed out the ones that have been sold. Um, you could do that, but it's going to be very time consuming. So I would just go based off of the filing date. So just go for properties that have been, if you're dealing with probates that they filed for the probate in the last 5 to 6 months, and that's it. So you don't need to find out if they're being sold or not. It'll be very time consuming. Just do the mailers for the probates that were filed in the last 3 months and move forward. And for pre-foreclosures, I would say from the filing date of the pre-foreclosure, go, I would say 3 to 4 months after the filing of the pre-foreclosure. So those are fairly new properties. So most likely, owners may still be in denial. So you don't need to check whether the properties have been
Good
sold.
afternoon.
Uh,
Hello, Mark.
great,
How are you doing
great,
there, sir?
great question, Rebecca.
I'm good.
Anybody
This is
else?
Tim from Chicago.
Anybody else? So let's just quickly recap what's happening. Most of the stimulus have ended, the forbearance, unemployment. So now what's happening is that all the over 90-day delinquencies are over 1.5 million properties in the United States. So that's going to become the tsunami wave that is going to hit next summer, beginning of the fall. Therefore, there's going to be price corrections between 10 to 20% drop in property prices. It's not going to be a crash. So what you need to do today, save money. Cash is king. Stash of cash. FICO over 680 and sharpen the saw. Okay, get as much knowledge, network. Make sure that you have a great GC working for you, and continue to join these webinars. If you don't have access to DealVault, I want to give you free access to DealVault today for the next 30 days. And also we have 2 training groups. We have the Wholesale Inner Circle and the CASHFLOW Inner Circle. So if you're thinking about doing either wholesales or buy and hold or flips, you need to join one of those two groups. So I'm going to quickly show you what they are right here. But again, if you need a free access to Chicago DealVault, send us an email to support@chicagodealvault.com for a free 30-day trial, okay? and then I'm gonna quickly explain to you what the cash flow and the wholesale groups are. So we have the cash flow group, okay? So what we're gonna do is we do live training calls, QA, we do masterminds, we do deal reviews on a weekly basis. We meet every Sunday at 1 p.m. Okay, so that's the cash flow. If you want to do buy and hold or fix and flip, so we have a lot of training videos that are super simple in a sequence that you need to follow. And most importantly, we can help you fund your transactions, okay, for the purchase and the rehab. Next, that is 59 per month, or if you do 6 months, it's 287. So we give you a 20% discount. And if you're thinking about doing wholesales, then you've got to join the wholesale inner secret group. Okay. So we meet every Tuesday, 6:30 for the wholesale inner secret group. So you can text the word success, text to 818-818. Okay, and then we're gonna send you the links for you to join either one of these two groups, the wholesale or the cash flow inner secret group. Okay, now if you need free access for the next 3 days to Chicago DealVault, I'm gonna send you, either you can email or I'm gonna send you the link, okay, for you to sign up for the 30-day trial. So this is the link. I will paste it via the chat for the free trial. Okay, this is where we have the list of contractors, electricians, plumbers, lead pipes from pre-foreclosures, probates, vacant properties, upcoming auctions, bank-owned properties. So you can get all of these for free for the next 30 days. Make sure that you select on the package special Chicago DealVault, and the promo code is GIFT. So from the package, select special Chicago DealVault, and then the promo code is GIFT. Okay, that's going to give you 30 days free of Chicago DealVault. Okay, so that's what we can give you today. I want to make sure that you're successful today, and please take into account what I said of reserves, knowledge, contractors under your belt, and FICO score. Very critical for you to tap into the huge opportunities that we're going to see coming next summer, beginning of the fall. Would you make lowball offers on MLS houses and just hope for the best? So it's not a matter of making ball offers, it's just sticking to your numbers, numbers that make sense. So if they're selling the property for 100,000, but you know it needs a lot of work, and it would only make sense if you pay 60,000, by all means, you need to tell them, listen, this property needs about 30, 40,000 worth of work. So I'm a professional investor. The offer, my highest and best is 60,000, and you need to add credibility to your offer by adding, proof of funds. You're going to be able to close 2-3 weeks. Earnest money needs to be high just to add credibility to the offer. So don't be shy to make lowball offers, because the lowball offers are going to need to be the numbers that make sense for the deal. Remember, ARV times 70% minus the rehab, that should be your max allowable offer, the most you should pay for the property. Okay, then there might not be a way to see if the seller is motivated unless you give them a lowball offer. Absolutely, just find out. Some sellers are just testing the waters, so motivation may not be there, and they may not want to talk to you. But it's okay, because guess what? You're a professional investor. You know your numbers. So make an offer, but remember, always negotiate the offer verbally before you put it in writing. When you put it in writing, meaning you formalize the offer, it's just to get the deal done. But you've already negotiated the offer verbally. Super critical. Build rapport. Is it still possible to buy on the MLS in this seller's market? Absolutely. Members from the CASHFLOW Inner Secret group have closed on this month on 2-3 properties from the MLS, and they're not paying above asking price. In fact, they're paying below asking price. However, they close in 3 weeks or 2 weeks. They buy the property as is, cash transaction, 5,000 to 10,000 earnest money. That's what it takes to become competitive, stand out, and get your offer accepted in MLS deals. But again, they're sticking to their numbers. They're not overpaying. They're not paying even asking price. They're paying below asking price, but the offer is super strong. That's what it takes to get it accepted. Yes, absolutely. Bill or Rebecca, in Chicago DealVault, if you're part of the cash flow in a Circle group, let me show you. We have the top flipping and rental markets also in Chicago DealVault. You have them. All you need to do on their area reports, select the area type, let's say B type, and then focus should be, let's say, cash flow. And then that's going to give you the top rental markets. Boom. Or if you select flip, it's going to give you the top flipping markets. If you are part of the cash flow inner circle group, then we're going to give you the top flipping and rental markets in a spreadsheet. So I'm sharing my screen. All you need to go is on their module, my ultimate object. Go to module 2, and in here we have top rental markets right here. So we have a spreadsheet of the top rental markets. We have another spreadsheet of the top flipping markets. Right here is under the cash flow inner circle portal, okay? So you can find them in both places, in the cash flow portal or in DealVault. How often? We update the markets every other month, okay? So they could be movement between the markets. So we update these every other month, both in Chicago DealVault and in the cash flow in the Circle group.